If the financial world were like the natural world, there would be tornado warnings out right now. Trump just shortened Putin's timeline to make a deal to 2 weeks, or he'll shut down all their oil exports. The EU deal is hot off the press, and the libtards are acting like we started a world war. And, and four of the Mag 7 report this week. The Fed will likely be dumb as dirt on Wednesday and not do what it should do. And the employment stats are due out on Friday. 160 of the S&P report this week, and there are over a dozen other economic reports out this week, including a first look at the second quarter GDP numbers. What would be the rhetorical equivalent? Maybe going into the northeast corner of your basement, away from windows. Anyway, of course, the market is like, no, whatever. It's all good. Equities are at all-time highs. So the investors are apparently just as calm as can be in the eye of this storm. Now, I'm not predicting anything negative this week. In fact, I'm kind of bullish. I think we're going to get a lot of good numbers this week. I think there might be some shocks. If you want to see what I think, you should watch last night's show. You should go back and look at my Monday morning show, which was last night, where I talk about what I think is going to actually happen with all this reporting in the coming week. I can tell you overall, I think it's going to be a pretty good week. We will probably continue to see all-time highs on the S&P, although it's getting stretched. I am beginning to wonder. Well, we'll really find out probably by the end of this week. We will have enough of the S&P reporting that we'll be able to get a really good idea of whether the 22.5 or whatever PE for the S&P right now comes down, because the earnings will cause that to contract. Well, in terms of the economy right now, where it's kind of like Tesla. The people that are buying Tesla right now at 184 trailing PE are buying Tesla because they believe that robotaxi and Optimus are going to be massive. They're going to be just change the world. If you don't believe it, you don't invest in Tesla right now at these kind of numbers. And people are continuing to invest, and I believe are going to continue to invest like this the rest of the year. And if you want to learn more about that, you could go look at what I talked about last night with my comparison with what AJ thinks and what I think, and how AJ's right on a lot of stuff and I'm right on some other stuff. And I'll put that card up at the end as well. So in a similar way, I think the folks that are investing in the market right now at these high PEs, you either believe that AI is going to, digital AI, the ChatGPT and Grok and all the rest is going to dramatically increase productivity, or you don't. If you believe that we're going to go back to the 90s and maybe better than the 90s in the internet age in terms of productivity gains over the next 3, 4, 5 years, even next year, even next month, well, like I do, okay, and that's why we're writing a book on the subject. If you believe that, then you're probably saying, okay, 22%, 22 PE is probably fine. And maybe a 25 PE would be fine, given the productivity gains. Given the GDP might be going up 3 or 4 or 5%, you might be willing to pay even more than that for the S&P. Anyway, it's kind of in a similar way. We just talked about the humanoid robots and robotaxi. This isn't just a Tesla thing. This is a economic thing. So for those who believe that humanoids, not just Teslas, but other humanoids are going to change things and create dramatic increases in productivity, then you're going to be willing to expect the market to go much, much higher like it did in the 90s. If you believe that, then the boom years are just about to begin, or maybe they're already here. Mario Nawfal has this morning. You've probably heard about this. I'm going to give you probably more, though, than you're hearing from others, because that's what I do. Samsung and Tesla signed a massive deal. Samsung has been flopping. They've been a big flop in the chip game, but they just locked in a $16.5 billion contract to make Tesla chips. The $16.5 billion deal equals 7.6 of Samsung's 2024 revenues. and sent shares soaring up 3.5% in Seoul. The contract runs from now until the end of 2033, signaling a huge win for Samsung's chip-making empire. Elon Musk responds, Samsung's giant new Texas fab, brand new Texas fab, will be dedicated to making Tesla's next generation AI6 chips. The strategic importance of this is hard to overstate, says Elon Musk. Samsung currently makes the AI4. TSMC will make the AI5, which just finished design. It will start out making those in Taiwan and then flip to Arizona at some point to go into mass production. Elon Musk again. Samsung has agreed to allow Tesla to assist it in maximizing manufacturing efficiency. This is a critical point, and I, Elon Musk, will be walking the line personally to accelerate the pace of progress. And the fab is conveniently located not far from my house. That must be his Austin house, which we haven't heard about before, because this fab is going to be about 30 miles from Austin, not very close to the SpaceX home that he has down in South Texas. Dr. Know-It-All responds. He says, look, if we go back to the Q2 earnings call where Elon said that AI6 would converge mobile, both car and Optimus, and Dojo, large-scale training cluster, this announcement is even more significant. Samsung will be making a lot of chips for all of these purposes, and having a dedicated fan in town will radically speed up development and logistics times. This is a very big deal, especially for the future multitudes of Optimi. So again, what we're talking about here in the Q2 earnings call, which I reported on, and I reported on this very fact. In fact, I had a long conversation with Brian Wang about it because I didn't quite understand it, is that the very chips that are being used for the inference chips in the cars and in Optimus in the future, those AI6 chips will also be used. Multiple of them will be used in the Dojo chips. The big chip stacks will have these chips in them, okay? And so this is multiple uses for the same board, if you will. I think that's right. Mario Nawful says this. He says, Tesla dumped Lidar. Now everybody's copying. Elon called Lidar a crutch and ripped it out of Tesla's back in 2021. Out of Tesla's back in 2021. Experts laughed. Now they're eating their words as Tesla's camera-only robotaxis run driverless rides in Austin, while LiDAR-heavy rivals like Waymo burn cash and stall expansion. Mobileye killed its LiDAR program. XPeng's ditching it too. Even Mercedes is finally training AI on camera data only, a decade late. It turns out all Tesla needed was vision. This is from Bloomberg TechCrunch. Elon responds, but what do I know about technology? Okay, Elon. This is from Baron T News. He says, fan account. President Trump's State Department has announced, are you ready for this? This is really big. Listen to this now. President Trump's State Department has announced it is coming to the defense of Elon Musk, his X division, after French labeled it an organized crime group and opened a criminal investigation. The State Department's DLR stated, as part of a criminal investigation, an activist French prosecutor is requesting information on X's proprietary algorithm and has classified X as an organized crime group. Democratic government should allow all voices to be heard, not silent speech they dislike. The United States will defend the free speech of all Americans against acts of foreign censorship. Doesn't sound like Trump is necessarily going to try to hurt Elon's businesses, maybe even help. This is Gali. Remember Gali? He's back. He's been posting a little bit more recently. You can find him at 𝐂𝐦𝐚𝐲, Gfilche. He says estimates for Tesla's Q3 deliveries hit an all-time high of 457,000. The market is expecting a big demand boost from the tax credit expiration. If Tesla actually delivers anywhere near 457,000 cars, they're going to print a ton of cash in the quarter. Well, Troy Teslike is at 437. AJ is still at 400,000. I'm saying it might be closer to 500,000 because we've done that before. And while Europe is probably not going to be great, I don't think it can take away even 35,000 from the all-time highs that we've had over 500,000. Gary Black says this. He says Tesla is advised the California Regulatory Authority this past Friday that it plans to offer rides to friends and family of employees and select members of the public under a permit that allows a human driver to transport passengers in the traditional vehicle for charter services. The next step for Tesla would be to apply for a CPUC license for an autonomous vehicle that picks up passengers with a safety driver. This is according to a review of California's autonomous driving regulations. But companies must first operate a pilot phase where they cannot charge customers. Now, that's what I said last week on a couple of occasions. I just wanted to confirm Gary says that this is true also. All right, this is Randy Kirk, by the way. Please like, subscribe, and hit notify. And yes, thank you very much for all of those of you who have signed up to be readers for the book. That's very, very nice of you. Now I need some of the rest of you to step up and spend $3 a month or $5 on Patreon. It is amazing to see how smart some of the public have become about the true impact of tariffs in the last 6 months, as this has now been in the public eye. You see, 6 months ago, nobody cared about tariffs. Nobody knew about tariffs. And you just have people throwing out stuff like they knew something about tariffs. Meanwhile, Jeff Lutz and I were telling you about tariffs because Jeff Lutz and I are experts. Both of us have spent our entire life in import-export. Jeff with much broader experience than I've had, and me with retail experience, with retail products that go into stores like Target and Kmart, which is not Jeff's expertise. And we've been telling you all along that the impact for the tariffs is probably going to be around 0.4% on CPI. Even Jay Powell said that the impact would be maybe 0.6%. So what is all the screaming and yelling by the Democrats? Many now post on X in ways that show that they understand that when the euro goes up 12%, which it has year to date, that doesn't mean your prices go up 12% at retail. And when the tariffs go up 15%, it doesn't mean your prices are going to go up 15%. If the companies manufacturing products in France and selling them to companies in the United States, if the French producer and the American importer and the American retailer thought they could charge 15 or 12 or whatever percent more, they would have already been charging that. So all through that chain, people have to go, oh, I can't I'm not going to be able to charge that much more. Maybe I can charge, 0.5% more, maybe 1% more, maybe 3% more, but I'm not going to be able to charge 15% more. So everybody has to figure out a way to solve it. And that's what they're doing right now. However, it's just amazing, or I guess it's not amazing because the Democrats lie all the time and they're just lying. The pundits on the television are lying. They say, oh, 15% tariff. Well, that means it's going to be 15% higher from Europe, from what you pay at the store. Well, there's also another problem. There's another thing that they don't take into consideration. Imports into the United States are only 15% of the total U.S. economy. It's only 15% of the economy. So even if you had 15% increase, it would only be on 15% of the economy. Remember, 60% of the U.S. economy is services. Only between 30 and 35% are products. So now, and a lot of those products are made here in the United States. So no, the U.S. economy only depends on imports for 15% of the total economy. So even if your tariffs went up 15%, you're only talking about 15% of 15%, right? Does that make sense? Are the numbers making sense? So it's not going to be a full percent or 2% or 3% added to the GDP. Plus, everybody agrees it's just a price. Ed Yardeni, just saw him on CNBC this morning say, well, it's probably not impacted yet. It'll impact later. Maybe it'll impact, maybe it won't. And, but it's only price. It isn't inflation. The liars are being shown for what they are, but they just keep doing it, even though the Atlanta Fed just said last week that inflation is at 2.25%. But they just keep lying. They just keep saying it over and over again. Jason Journo DC says, Bill Mayer, why do I have so much trouble with the last names? Oh, you mean because the last names today are not Smith and Jones anymore. Anyway, Bill Maher admits he was wrong about Trump's tariffs. The stock market is at record highs. I don't see a country in a depression at all. I see people out there just living their lives. And I would have thought, and I got to own it, that these tariffs were going to sink the economy by this time, but they didn't. I know I don't usually do. Oh, I'm sorry. That was the end of that story. Yeah. So everybody's having to admit, and they will continue to have to admit because the numbers, you got to do the math. 15% of 15 doesn't add up to more than 0.6. All right. I know I don't usually do health-related items in this space, but RFK just made too much sense today. I had to report it. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. today, this is reported by Newstart_2024. Today, over 100 members of Congress support a bill to fund Ozempic with Medicare at $1,500 a month. Most of these members have taken money from the manufacturer of that product, a European company called Novo Nordisk. And as everyone knows, once a drug is approved by Medicare, it goes also to Medicaid. And there's a push to recommend Ozempic for Americans as young as 6 over a condition, obesity, that is completely preventable and barely even existed 100 years ago. Since 74% of Americans are obese, the cost of all of them, if they take Ozempic, would be $3 trillion a year. This is a drug that has made Novo Nordisk the biggest company in Europe. It's a Danish company, but the Danish government does not recommend it. It recommends a change in diet to treat obesity and exercise, and also exercise. Virtually, Novo Nordisk's entire value is based on projections of what Ozempic is going to be sold when Ozempic is going to be sold to Americans. For half the price of Ozempic, we could purchase regeneratively raised organic agriculture, organic foods for every American, 3 meals a day, and gym membership for half the price. Why are members of Congress doing the bidding of a Danish company instead of standing up for American farmers and children? Because Novo Nordisk is one of the largest funders of medical research. The media and politicians and the medical schools go along with them. Well, Truflation this morning is at 2% overnight, 2.10% year over year. Food is down, housing way down, utilities down, personal items is really the only major gainer. Trump's at 47%. This is his low water mark of the past. He usually he's usually between 47 and 53 right now. He's at the low. Don't know why. Should be should be 55, should be 60%. Anyway, VIX is up a little bit, but considering what we're looking at this week in terms of potential roiling of markets, you would think VIX might be higher. It's at 15.36. It is up this morning 2.86%, but 15.36% is its current trading. Tesla this morning is up 2.9% at 325. So, the old 3-day rule that I believe in, 3 days after the earnings call, you'll get the real price of Tesla compared to the day before. And what we're seeing here is maybe we end up back at 330. We're almost there somewhere. But yes, there's going to be a slight discount or a slight sliding of the stock after the earnings call, but not the 8-9% that we saw the first day. We're almost back to, almost back to 330, which is where we were when we went into that earnings call. The Dow is now at all-time high, up 0.01% this morning. NASDAQ is up at all-time high, 21,181. The S&P up 0.11% this morning, all-time high. You've got the Magnificent Seven up for the most part, but Google down a bit, as is Microsoft. No, Microsoft is down 0.00%. I know I've made that joke before, but anyway, it's now actually down. But I don't understand when it's at 0.00. Sometimes it's red, sometimes it's green. How does that work? Okay, we have got the Cathie Woods all up except for 𝐼𝐥, which is down a little bit, but the rest of them are up nicely this morning, even though I'm pretty sure that when we look at the bonds, we're going to find out that I think we're going to find that the bonds are up. They are two basis points, 4.406. Some people suggesting this morning, I think Ed Yardeni again saying, hey, bonds, maybe interest rates are fine where they are. This is the traditional level. This is the average level over many, 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 many decades. Yes, it's high compared to the last decade, but over decades and decades, this is normal, and maybe that's where it's going to be. I do not believe it. As inflation becomes clearly negative, gets below 2% and maybe way below 2%, and productivity shoots super high, the bonds will respond, and we will be back down into the threes anyway. Oh, the low threes probably. That's what I believe. I could be completely wrong. I was once. So we've got oil. Oil's up $1.43 this morning, 66.59. That's still in a fine range, but up that's 2%. Natural gas, though, is down 1.67 at 306. Wonder if we're going to go under $3 on natural gas. You've got gold down 24.70 this morning at 33.10, dropping from 34.50 a week ago, maybe a little over a week ago. Silver down this morning, 0.35 at 38.23, and copper down 3.65 to 5.57. Now it puts it back around where it was when the copper tariffs were put on. The dollar is mixed. Bitcoin down 820 at 118. It was at 120 over the weekend, now down to 118. And we have got, that's it. Actually, that is the whole list. Now, as I mentioned yesterday, there were three major videos. If you've got time, you're going to go want to watch these. Number one major video was about, was the big video of the day where I talked about the impact, what we're going to be looking at over the next 3 years, 4 years, with regard to Tesla, how it's all going to change, the AI and everything else. That one was one of the biggest videos that I've had in a long time in terms of views. So you may have already seen it, but you may want to go back and watch it a second time, because you may want to go through the details and understand the math and understand why I believe, how I believe the consumers are going to react to the fact that they can get a robotaxi in a few seconds for $1 a mile, $1.25 a mile, something like that, a year, not next month, not even in 2026, but in 2027, I think it'll start coming down closer to $1. And as it comes closer to $1, they're going to be ubiquitous, and people are not going to be bothering to own cars. That's my understanding. Elon Musk believes that. Cathie Wood believes that. I believe that. It's understanding human nature, understanding how markets work. That's what I believe. If you don't believe it, I'm recommending you go listen to it carefully, because the result of all this is that Tesla will not be selling cars for regular daily use. Consumers of people that want to use it to just putt around town or to go to work, they won't be able to. It'll be too expensive. Tesla will not be making cars designed for that. Okay. What they're going to be making cars designed to do is to be robotaxis. Okay. So if you didn't see that, card up here. All right. These are not going to be in order. All three cards will be in some order, because I never know how to put the order up. Okay. So next was my regular Monday night program. So this week is going to be crazy. So much stuff happening this week. So if you didn't listen to that last night and you want to find out what I think about what's going to be happening, what is going to be happening, but also how it's going to impact things, go watch that program. That card will be up. And then last night, I did a thing about AJ. AJ put out a 3.5-hour video, which I listened to every minute of. And then I did an analysis of that video. Actually, I had Grok help me with the analysis of that video. And then there was 6 or 7 things that I totally agreed with AJ, maybe even more than that. And then there were several things that like 7 or 8 things that I disagreed with AJ. And I went through the list of the things I agreed with and didn't agree with, and also his price targets and my price targets. So anyway, that was up last night. That I'll put that card as well. That's it. Let's go back one last time and look at Tesla. And regular programming today, I think there's a chance that it will be Brian Wong tonight late, but it'll be Larry Goldberg for sure. And then maybe Brian Wong, but probably Brian White as far as the late program tonight. Okay, and then what we've got is on Tesla. We have got Tesla still up, just a little bit less, 323.93, up 2.49%. Okay, that's it for now. It has been great, as always, speaking with you.